Lee Si-heng and I were childhood sweethearts. He didn't mind my humble background and married me despite the pressure. Everyone openly envied our fairy tale romance, but behind our backs they mocked Lee Si-heng, saying he married a servant. I worked hard in secret, wanting to be his equal. He smiled and comforted me. I was looking for a lover, not a business partner. I like seeing you waiting for me at home when I get off work every day. I did as he wished and kept our home safe. But when my father-in-law fell ill and he had to shoulder the company alone, he followed his parents' wishes and let Bai Lingyue, a socialite graduate from a prestigious university and his arranged fiancée, join the company to assist him. Darling, she's just an employee helping me with my burdens. Don't overthink it. I believed him. Later, Bai Lingyue would tie his tie for him, bring him hangover soup, and accompany him to all public events he didn't want me to attend. They flirted with each other in French in front of me, didn't deny it when mistaken for a couple, shared a suite when traveling abroad, and even mixed up their underwear. I merely asked a question and Lee Si-heng flew into a rage. She has really helped me a lot, working tirelessly without complaint. Unlike you, who can enjoy a comfortable life at home while being sensitive and suspicious, always asking questions. Even later, I overheard him complaining to his friends, "Why did I marry such a useless woman?" At that moment, I understood that our love had been worn away and it was time for me to let go. In the early morning, Madame Lee habitually drank a cup of velvet latte upon waking. When the servant brought it up, she glanced at the servant and asked, "Where is Madame?" The next second she spat it directly into the trash can. "What is this? That woman dared to poison me." The maid explained, "Madame didn't make the latte today, I did." Madame Lee asked, "Where is she?" "In the garden out back." Madame Lee came downstairs where Mr. Lee and Lee Si-heng were also complaining at the dining table. "What kind of oatmeal is this? The taste is off. These soup dumplings don't taste right either." Lee Si-heng rested his arm on the back of his chair and shouted towards the kitchen, "Ding Ning, what's wrong with you today? Didn't you wake up properly?" A chef walked out of the kitchen. "I apologize, Mr. Lee, sir, it's my first day working here. I made these according to the wife's instructions. If anything is not to your liking, please tell me and I'll remake them immediately." "Why hire a chef? Is Ding Ning just being lazy?" Mr. Lee asked, displeased. "Is this the only use she has in this house and she's unwilling to do even that?" Mrs. Lee walked over. "Exactly. Seeing a Heng take over the company, she's gotten ambitious too, wanting to be a lady of leisure. She should look at herself and see if she's worthy." Lee Si-heng frowned. In the past he would have quickly grown tired of listening and told his parents to stop talking, warning them, "Ding Ning is my wife, my lover. You can't talk about her like that." But now all he could think was, they were right. You don't even want to do something as trivial as cooking, you're really becoming more and more useless. He asked the servant, "Where is Madame?" Madame Lee said sarcastically, "In the backyard admiring flowers. She doesn't care about her elders' lives at all." Mr. Lee slammed the table and said, "A Heng, go find her and tell her if she wants to do it she can, but if she doesn't, then divorce. We can hire a chef, what else do we need her for?" Lee Si-heng left the restaurant in a huff and walked towards the back garden. In the garden, my dad and I were pruning the grapevines. These were planted by me and Lee Si-heng when I was little. "I'll definitely marry you when I grow up. This grapevine will be our witness. Then I promise I'll be a good wife and make you the most delicious wine every year." I straightened up and wiped the sweat from my brow. Seeing those two childish figures, I so easily pledged a lifetime. Coincidentally, we were both people who kept our promises. When we grew up, Lee Si-heng, despite his family's objections, proposed to me under these grapevines. Gave me a wedding that wasn't grand but was very warm. I make my own wine every year and he always praises my homemade wine as better than store-bought. Last year, because Bai Lingyue came and said my homemade wine was cheap and didn't meet hygiene standards, Lee Si-heng threw away all the wine I worked hard to make. This year I only made 12 bottles, which are at my parents' house. My parents had long wanted to return to their hometown to enjoy their retirement. Because they were worried about me, they stayed at the Lee family's home and accompanied me for 5 years. Now we can all leave. This vine always displeased Mrs. Lee, who said it made her courtyard full of precious flowers and plants look cheap. Now she can have her way. Lee Si-heng stood not far away and saw the grapevines uprooted. The anger in his heart immediately dissipated. "Why cut the vines? What tantrum are you throwing? He remembered calling me to pick him up before drinking last night, and today he woke up in bed. Did he say anything he shouldn't have last night? He tried hard to recall but couldn't remember anything he said, so he sent a message to his friend to ask. I instructed my dad, clean it up thoroughly, don't let it grow back and cause trouble. My dad sighed. It was a good grapevine and the wine it made was so sweet. I smiled and comforted him. We can just plant another one when we get home. Why are you sighing? You can take all 12 bottles of wine with you. They don't want to drink it anyway, they think it's dirty. Hearing this, Lee Si-heng suddenly spoke. Where are you going? I turned back to look at him. His anxious expression was exactly the same as when I was 14, and Mrs. Lee had secretly read my diary, called me delusional and tried to kick my family out. At that time he was wearing a uniform from an aristocratic school, rushing back from school, his hair disheveled. Now he is in a business suit, his hair neatly combed, wearing gold-rimmed glasses, looking mature and steady. Back then I cried and said to him, Aheng, I can't keep my promise anymore. We have to go back to our hometown. He grabbed my wrist and said, You're not allowed to go anywhere. He negotiated with Madam Lee, exchanging his top 3 grades for the year for our continued stay. Every night, seeing his desk lamp on, I knew he was working hard for me. For his sake, no matter how much Madam Lee made things difficult for me, my heart felt warm. And now, when I handed him the divorce agreement, he exploded in anger almost instantly. You want a divorce? Why? Because I asked you to make a salad for Lingyue? She likes the salad you make. Isn't that an endorsement of you? What's wrong with making something for someone who endorses you? Isn't this precisely the time to realize your self-worth? Are you thinking again that there's something between me and her? She doesn't like high-calorie foods, she only likes the salads you make. Is it wrong for me to bring her favorite salad for the employees? Are you happy only if I fire her? Then who will help me? I can't help you. Divorcing you and giving up the position of Mrs. Lee is the biggest help I can give you, isn't it? Unfortunately, he didn't let me finish before continuing to rage. Knowing you can't help me, why are you still causing trouble? It was one thing to be suspicious and ask endless questions before, but now you don't make us breakfast, you inexplicably come to chop down trees, and you even dare to mention divorce? Ding Ning, do you know how much pressure I was under when I married you, with so many people not optimistic about us? You proposing divorce to me, isn't that slapping me in the face? How am I supposed to hold my head up in public from now on? They've already mocked me for marrying a maid for 5 years. Do you want them to mock me for another 50 years, saying I can't even keep a maid? He snatched the agreement and tore it to shreds. It felt as if my heart was ripped out and torn to pieces along with it, hurting so much that I couldn't even utter a word of protest. Every sentence he said was about not divorcing, and every sentence was about himself. Not a single one cared about my feelings. He didn't even know why I cut down the grapevines. My dad couldn't listen anymore and accused him. Is your head only filled with yourself? Are you afraid of being ridiculed, or are you afraid of losing my daughter? Do you even remember what she likes to eat? Lee Si-heng stared at me, and the answer was about to blurt out. But then he remembered that he hadn't seen me eat the things I loved as a child for a long time. And he had no recollection of what I had been eating recently. The snack cabinet is stocked with all his favorite treats, and the ingredients in the kitchen are purchased according to the dietary habits of their family of 3. My homemade desserts are also all to his taste. If he says he wants to eat something, I'll make it overnight and give it to him the next day. I rarely eat them myself. I'll occasionally have some with him, but they aren't the flavors I used to enjoy. Perhaps realizing that even if I had no merit, I had at least put in the effort, his conscience kicked in and he pulled me into his arms. Ning Ning, I'm sorry, I was blinded by anger. Don't fight with me, okay? I'm really tired, please be understanding. I had been understanding for too long, and truly couldn't bear to be understanding any longer. I raised my hand and patted his back helplessly. I was afraid of causing you trouble, that's why I wanted a divorce agreement. If you're afraid of being ridiculed by others, then I... Before he could finish speaking, his phone rang. He pushed me away and I caught a glimpse of Ling Yu flashing on the screen. Hello Ling Yu, something troublesome has come up at home, I might be late for the company. You host the regular meeting. Ding Ning wants a divorce from me, of course I don't want to divorce, okay? He pressed the speakerphone button. Ling Yu will try to persuade you. I gestured for my dad to go rest so he wouldn't get too angry. Holding my phone, I actually wanted to hear how she would try to persuade me not to divorce. Hello Ms. Bai. Mrs. Lee, are you thinking of divorce because you're bored staying at home for too long? Aheng is already overwhelmed with company matters. As his wife, if you can't help, please just stay out of it. I'm only here to help Aheng stabilize the company as quickly as possible. Once he's settled, I'll leave immediately. Will that put your mind at ease? By the end, she sounded wronged. Lee Si-hung glared at me and said into the phone, Lingyue, don't be sad. I won't let you leave. But Aheng, if I don't go, Mrs. Lee won't be at ease. I came to the company to help you. I just wanted you to be happy and not to be a burden to you. I didn't expect it to turn out like this. I'm sorry. You don't need to apologize, Lingyu. You are not a burden, never have been. He looked at me again. I said tactfully, I'll draft a new divorce agreement. If you don't have time, have your lawyer talk to me. You can just sign it then. Why are you still bringing up divorce? Lingyue is already so upset. What more do you want from her to be satisfied? I laughed in anger. Isn't the question backward? What do you want from me to be satisfied? Lee Si-hung lost his patience. Ding Ning, that's enough. Stop being unreasonable. Who taught you these tricks? You used to be so innocent and sensible. How did you become like this? The old Lee Si-hung wouldn't regret marrying me, nor would he think I was useless. Lee Si-hung, has it been me who changed or have you changed? Lee Si-hung, you were the one who asked for a divorce. I won't divorce you. I haven't changed. Bai Lingyue offered another suggestion. Aheng, Mrs. Lee causing such a scene might also want to join the company to help you. Why don't you let her join the company? Let her be your secretary. I'll talk to finance and give her a high-level salary. If she has something serious to do and more money in her hands, she might stop causing trouble like this. Hearing what she said, Lee Si-hung became even angrier, convinced that I was after money. Ding Ning, you think you can join the company? Isn't 50,000 a month in pocket money enough for you? The company doesn't keep idle people. You have neither a degree nor work experience, so what can you do in the company? The company doesn't lack canteen aunties and cleaning ladies. Before I could speak, Bai Lingyue's laughter came from the phone. Aheng, how can you speak to Mrs. Lee like that? Our canteen staff and cleaning ladies are required to have a college degree and at least 3 years of work experience to be hired. In other words, I don't even qualify to be a cafeteria lady or a cleaning aunt. Yes, I almost forgot. Did you hear that? Ding Ning, have some self-awareness and honestly do your part at home. Hearing that I was so useless, yet Lee Si-hung wasn't divorcing me, Bai Lingyue couldn't smile anymore. I, however, smiled. I have a bachelor's degree in sales and I admit I don't have work experience, but I can learn. You don't need to give me a high-level salary. The intern standard is fine. If I go to the company, Bai Lingyue will definitely have a way to help me divorce sooner. Lee Si-hung asked in disbelief, where did you get your degree? My company does not accept forged documents. I calmly replied, it's not forged, I studied and took the exam myself. If you don't believe me, I can show you my diploma. If you're afraid I'll embarrass you at the company, you can pretend not to know me. Anyway, in the 5 years since we got married, I've been a shut-in, and he's never brought me to any public events. As long as he denies knowing me, no one at the company should know I'm Mrs. Lee. Then who manages the household? Dad is in a wheelchair and needs care, and Mom can't cook. Someone has to prepare all 3 meals a day. There are so many servants at home, plus 2 caregivers specifically for Dad, and a chef has already been hired. Don't act like this household would fall apart without me. They don't like the food this chef makes. And Lingyue's salads, he definitely won't be able to make those either. If it doesn't work out, change. If you don't know how, learn. There's always a chef who can satisfy them. Didn't you ask me to be understanding? I'll go to the company and understand your hard work. Lee Si-hung pinched his temples. Okay, I'll let you join the company. A 1-month probation period. If you don't do well, come back to cook, take care of Mom and Dad, and stop causing trouble, alright? Alright. If I can still come back after a month, then Bai Lingyue is incompetent. Oh, right, by the way, the allowance you give me every month is transferred to your mother's card. I never touched it. Lee Si-hung was confused. Isn't that your bank card? No, the day you asked me for my card, your mother overheard. She told me to give you her card number so I wouldn't spend your family's money recklessly. I've been taking the blame for so many years. It's time I clarified things with you. Lee Si-hung looked at me, wanting to say his mother wouldn't do such a thing, but he also knew I had no reason to lie. At this moment, Lee Si-chung's phone received a message. Because he was on the phone, the notification sound automatically changed to vibration, so he didn't hear it. I saw it. It was from Li Xiqing's friend. You didn't say anything yesterday, just that you regretted marrying a useless woman and wanted to divorce her to marry your sister-in-law. But as soon as you finished speaking, Ding Ning came in. I thought she had heard and I wanted to smooth things over for you, but she didn't say anything and helped you leave. She's a smart one, not daring to fall out with you. Otherwise, without you, what good life could she, a mere servant, have? I hung up the phone, returned it to Li Xiheng and walked towards where my parents lived. Li Xiheng saw the message and only read the first half. He ran over wanting to explain, but after reading further, his heart was put at ease. He also believed that I would pretend not to have heard that sentence for the sake of this good life. I pretended not to notice him and continued to walk forward. I never expected him to catch up and say, "Since Lingyue has helped you so much, could you make her a salad? She gets stomachaches when she's upset, and eating something she likes can make her feel better." I don't have time, I need to get ready for work. If you care about her so much, you do it yourself. She'll feel better faster if she's touched. He certainly didn't do it. He ran to ask Madame Li about the bank card and Madame Li admitted it. I was helping my mother pack her things and could hear Madame Li's voice from the front yard. "That kind of woman shouldn't have money. I'm doing this all for your own good." Not long after, Li Xiheng transferred 100,000 yuan to me and drove off to work. I accepted it with a clear conscience. In the afternoon my parents resigned. I rented a car and drove them back to their hometown. The amount of stuff was neither too much nor too little. Their luggage, some furniture they couldn't bear to throw away, and 12 bottles of wine I made. Madame Li personally oversaw the process, and only after we had finished moving and it was confirmed that not a single cent of her Li family's property had been taken did she settle my parents' wages. Very good, the house is much more spacious now. After she left, I said to my mother, "You two go home first, I'll be back in a few days." My mother reluctantly held my hand. "Will they really let you go?" "Yes, don't worry. Before only Li Xiheng loved me. Now even he dislikes me. Who would stop me from leaving then? If it's just a matter of saving face, by Lingyue can make him let go of that face." My dad held back tears. "I've bought grape seeds. I'll wait for you to come back and we'll plant them together." Okay. After they left, Madame Li had no intention of hiring more gardeners for the time being. The place where they used to live was vacated, so I packed my belongings and moved there. Madame Li was drinking tea in the courtyard and saw me moving my things. She said disdainfully, "Why are you moving to the servants' quarters? Who are you trying to fool by pretending to be pitiful? If you miss your parents so much, why don't you leave with them?" I stopped in my tracks. In the past, to avoid making Li Xiheng uncomfortable, I always conceded and tried not to anger Madame Li. Now who cares? I was planning to leave, but a Heng couldn't bear to part with me. He even tore up the divorce agreement I had prepared. He asked me to go to the company tomorrow and not worry about household matters. "I moved here to seek peace because I was afraid you and Mr. Li would disturb my rest at night. You've been trying to set him up with Bai Lingyue for so long. Sorry I've disappointed you again." I walked into the maid's room and closed the door. Before I could close the window, I heard Madame Li shouting outside with her phone. "She's already asked for a divorce, why won't you agree? Do you know how arrogant she is? She doesn't even care about me and your father anymore. Then why do you still want her? You must divorce her and marry Lingyu. I don't want to see her for another day." I don't know what you saw in her back then. Was it her vocational school education and her shabby appearance? I closed the window and slept until the next day. I opened my phone and no one had contacted me. This feeling was simply wonderful. I don't even know how long it's been since I slept through the night. This is all thanks to Mr. and Mrs. Li. They have a lot of things to do in the evening. At first it was purely to torment me who had just married into the family, but later it became a habit. A midnight snack at 9 p.m., boiled soup and foot soak at 10 p.m., and a sleep-inducing massage at 11 p.m. If Mr. Li wakes up startled at 2 a.m., he will need calming soup, and Mrs. Li will get up precisely at 6 a.m. for her velvet latte. It caused my sleep to be intermittent and I often suffered from insomnia. At first, Li Xiheng was very unhappy with them bothering me like this and often argued with them. Then they would take their anger out on me again. At the height of the commotion, Li Xiheng even suggested moving out. But Madame Li only had this one son, and she couldn't bear to be separated from him. So she cried and made a scene, saying that Lee Si-hung had forgotten his mother now that he had a wife. I wanted to gain their affection and not put Lee Si-hung in a difficult position, so I took the initiative to say, taking care of parents is filial piety. I'm willing to do it. Don't always argue with them. Lee Si-hung stopped arguing and gradually got used to me often not being home at night. This greatly affected our marital relationship and intimacy, but they didn't care. I always naively believed that they were just unable to accept me yet, which was why they made things difficult for me. As long as I approached them with a sincere heart, they would eventually be moved by my filial piety. Until one day I discovered Madame Lee secretly checking the condoms in our room. After discovering it many more times, I also found a pattern. Every time they looked for me and I was very late, she would come to check the next day. If the number of condoms wasn't short, she would put birth control pills in my milk. So all their fuss was because they didn't want me to have a child with Lee Si-ching. Now that I think about it, did Lee Si-ching use condoms every time even after we got married because he agreed with them, and also thought I wasn't worthy of giving birth to their Lee family's heir? So this marriage, was it set to end from the beginning, or did they plan to hide it from me and find a talented woman outside to have a child, and then bring the child back for me to raise? Oh right, there's Bai Lingyue. Mr. Lee falling ill and her returning to the country at the same time is too coincidental. Never mind, what they think doesn't matter anymore. What matters is that we don't have children and we have one less tie, which is good. I left early and asked the delivery uncle to give me a ride to a place with shared electric scooters. I rode a scooter to get breakfast first, then headed to the company. I had already seen the company gate when Lee Si-hung called. "Where are you? Why aren't you at home?" "I've arrived at the company." "Where?" ? So he wasn't home? When I looked up, I saw him and Bai Lingyue standing at the company's main entrance, hand in hand. They didn't just arrive by car. If they had driven, they would have taken the elevator directly from the underground parking lot, not entered through the main gate. His suit is still the same one from yesterday. That is to say, they stayed at the company last night and just came back from having breakfast nearby. They really can't wait. If I had known they were in such a hurry, I wouldn't have rushed to move. I hung up the phone and parked my electric scooter. Bai Lingyue saw me first and tapped Lee Si-hung on the shoulder. Lee Si-hung frowned when he saw me wearing a t-shirt and jeans, looking as ordinary as a recent college graduate. "I sent the driver to find you, so why did you come by electric scooter yourself? And dressed like this? Didn't I give you money? Couldn't you buy some clothes suitable for work?" An employee passed by and greeted them, and Lee Si-hung intentionally blocked me. "Mr. Lee, Mrs. Lee." This Mrs. Lee referred to Bai Lingyue, not me. Bai Lingyue nodded, and after they walked away she explained, "I'm sorry, Mrs. Lee. I've explained many times but they still misunderstand." Ahing meant. Lee Si-hung spoke for her. "Lingyue often attends various events with me, so it's normal to be misunderstood. I can't explain it to everyone, can I? Didn't you say we should pretend not to know each other at the company? Then there's no need to explain." I agreed. Yes, let's just pretend not to know each other. It saves us from having to explain things back and forth later, which is too troublesome. You don't need to have the driver take me anymore. Dressing like this makes it seem like I have no connection to you. What position do I work in? Seeing that I didn't object, Lee Si-hung's expression improved significantly. "Lingyue, you arrange it for her. I slept too late last night, I'm going to catch up on some sleep." "Okay, after I arrange things for Xiaoding, I'll give you a shoulder and neck massage to help you relax." So I've become Xiaoding. Lee Si-hung also found it awkward to hear, but I didn't say anything. He just grunted in response, walking towards the president's private elevator while loosening his tie. Many female employees were gazing at him with adoration. Bai Lingyue also gazed foolishly at his retreating figure, and after a long while turned her head back, unbuttoned 2 buttons on her shirt, revealing hickeys on her neck and collarbone. "He was with me last night, we were together very early on. If it weren't for you, I would be Mrs. Lee fighting alongside him. We're all adults, there's no need to fight over a man. If you're smart, you'll back out and I'll have him give you more money." No more acting, just a direct confrontation? I can't compete with you when it comes to education, but if we're talking about who knew him first, aren't you overestimating yourself? I was born and he was the first person I saw. Back then, Lee Si-hung was obsessed with having a younger sister. When my mom gave birth to me, he ran to the hospital and waited outside the operating room with my dad. As soon as I was brought out, he was even more eager than my dad, holding me and saying, Wow, is this my little sister? After we got home from the hospital, he didn't lose any of that enthusiasm. Every day after finishing his studies, he would come to hold me. The elders of the Li family always joked that I was his child bride. Madame Li said displeasedly, "What child bride? What era is this? Nowadays the children of servants can only be servants. She's nothing more than a cat or dog that a hen keeps." But she never expected that Li Siheng would actually marry me. Nor did I expect that the Li Siheng who loved me so much would let me lose so completely. Bai Lingyue said, "What's the use of that? He dislikes you so much now that he doesn't even want to come home. He's with me at least 3 times a night. He says you're boring and have never satisfied him, and that he only experiences the joy of being a man with me. Is this my fault?" His parents called one after another. I want to satisfy him, but do they agree? I smiled indifferently. Yes, it's strange. He dislikes me so much, yet he still refuses to divorce. If you can get him to agree to a divorce, I'll leave with money immediately. Bai Lingyue looked surprised. You agree to divorce? I was the one who wanted the divorce. He disagreed. I pulled up her collar and 2 more employees came out, calling her Mrs. Li. Regarding this, shouldn't you reflect on yourself? I lowered my voice. Under my name, please behave with some dignity. Bai Lingyue took me to report to Sales Department 1, saying I was her cousin. This person never satisfied with getting their way. After familiarizing myself with the business for a whole morning, it was almost lunchtime when the sales director asked me to pick up a major client. He only gave me an English name and an airport name, no description, no photo, and no arrival time. I asked one more question. Is it a man or a woman? He said impatiently, you are Mrs. Li's cousin. With her capability, you can't even handle such a small matter, can you? Okay, I understand. I must mess this up for him. Losing the company's major client will definitely make Li Siheng furious and kick me out. Bai Lingyue is truly brilliant, worthy of being a top student. I slowly rode my electric scooter towards the airport. Arriving at the airport, I found a shady spot, checked in and posted on Moments. Lunchtime. Li Siheng asked about Bai Lingyue. What position have you arranged for Ding Ning? Bai Lingyue replied, Sales department, isn't she studying sales? Li Siheng chuckled. She just took a few online courses and bought a certificate. What can she learn? Tell Dong Hua to have her do tasks like fetching tea and water and printing documents. Keep an eye on her, don't let her cause trouble. After a month, send her home to take care of my parents. Bai Lingyue asked dejectedly, what if she's still insisting on a divorce after a month? Li Siheng poked the rice in his bowl with his chopsticks. Who wouldn't want a good life? Aheng, have you never thought about marrying me? Li Siheng was a little surprised and looked at her sideways. I thought you didn't want to marry me, that you didn't want to fight alongside me and share the spoils? But I also want a legitimate status. The entire company, all clients, treat you as Mrs. Li. Isn't that enough? Lingyue, you are an ambitious and capable woman. You're different from her. I hope you stand by my side, not within my household. Bai Lingyue didn't understand. If I become your wife, I can't stand by your side anymore? She may lack education and ability, but if I become your wife, I'm still me. Then where will your energy be focused? A pile of things at home, a pile of things at the company. Can you be in 2 places at once? As the pampered daughter of the Bai family, she grew up with 8 servants attending to her every need, so naturally she had no idea what a pile of things at home meant to Li Siheng. Bai Lingyue put down her chopsticks. After all this talk, you just don't want to marry me. Li Siheng embraced her, about to coax her, when his peripheral vision caught his newly refreshed Moments feed. My little share was prominently displayed at the top. Picking up a big client? What big client is she going to pick up? Bai Lingyue pretended not to know and called the sales director, Dong Hua. Dong Hua said, I've gone to pick up Mr. Wells. Li Siheng slammed the table. How could you send her? She doesn't speak English. Shouldn't you have gone to meet such an important client as Mr. Wells yourself? Dong Hua lowered his head. I apologize, President Li. She is the wife's cousin, so I assumed her abilities would be on par with the wife's. Li Siheng immediately called me, and if I didn't answer, he was prepared to come find me himself. Bai Lingyue followed. I called Mr. Wells and he didn't answer either. He's a notorious playboy, could it be? No. Li Siheng said with certainty. Ding Ning and I grew up together, I know her too well. She set her heart on me and won't get involved with anyone else. If Wells dared to lay a hand on her, he'd be in the hospital by now. He was talking to Bilingue while calling me, not noticing that I had already answered. I can see him less and less clearly, yet he understands me so well. Does he dare to hurt me so recklessly precisely because he knows I've decided on him and won't let go easily? Realizing the call was connected, Lee Si-hung immediately asked, "Hello, Ning Ning? Where are you?" "I'm in the company reception room." Mr. Wells was indeed bruised and his mouth was swollen. I had intended to mess things up, but unexpectedly he approached me and introduced himself. So I took him to eat spicy hot pot and had 2 bottles of beer just to entertain him. Who knew that instead of getting angry he actually got happy and started getting handsy with me, so I hit him. After hitting him he thought I was a heroine and insisted on being friends with me, so I had no choice but to bring him back. Outside the reception room, a crowd of colleagues had gathered to watch the gossip. "Oh my God, she actually hit Wells? That's so fierce." Wells is our biggest business partner. His father had a deep friendship with the elder Mr. Lee, and he and the younger Mr. Lee are like brothers. On one side is a good brother and on the other is a cousin-in-law. Which side will Mr. Lee take? Nonsense, he'll definitely side with whoever benefits him the most. He's only been in charge of the company for a year. Can he afford to offend a major client? I think Mr. Lee will have to sacrifice personal relationships for the greater good. But speaking of which, Wells has never lost when pursuing a woman. This one truly lives up to being Mrs. Lee's cousin. Her standards are so high that she doesn't even fancy a prince-level heartthrob like Wells. His methods are truly ruthless. If I were Wells, I'd have Mr. Lee send her to my bed to apologize. As soon as the words fell, the person turned their head and saw Lee Si-hung and Bilingue standing behind them. Lee Si-hung's expression was extremely terrifying. "You don't need to come to work tomorrow." Dong Hua kept chanting prayers and making the sign of the cross beside him. This believer is willing to lose 10 years of their life to escape this calamity. In the reception room, I stared blankly at my phone. Thinking back to when I was in school and being pursued by the school bully, Lee Si-hung came to my school to back me up, telling me, "No matter who they are, don't be afraid, just hit them. If they get permanently injured, it's on me." My ruthless fighting skills now are all thanks to him. Wells removed the ice pack from his face and asked, "Who was that just now?" I replied, "Arceo Lee." "Oh, I've always been curious about your President Lee. Mrs. Lee is the daughter of the Bai family and the Bai and Lee families are well matched. Why didn't they have a wedding?" "I can't tell, this foreigner is quite gossipy. A wedding was held, just not with Bilingue. My wedding was a small affair with only some of his brothers and my parents in attendance. His parents were both hospitalized and forced him to break up with me, but he refused. He chose me so firmly back then, but now he's changed his mind, denying everything about me with such conviction." Wells continued, "I searched a lot of online information to see what their sure-G wedding between this handsome man and beautiful woman looked like, and I found a scandal about Seo Lee marrying a maid 5 years ago. Which one is the truth? The news that Lee Si-hung married me was actually a scandal outside. No wonder he always looked wronged. What's wrong with being a servant? Earning money with your own hands, not by deception, how can it be a scandal?" Wells looked at me doubtfully, not understanding why I suddenly said that. "Of course, I don't look down on servants. Everyone is human and everyone is equal. But don't the wealthy families here care a lot about class and status? So, did he really marry a servant? Since we're getting divorced anyway, I won't drag him down anymore." I replied with a smile, "Of course not. Seo Lee and Mrs. Lee are well matched. The idea of a servant becoming a phoenix is something you only find in novels. They didn't have a wedding because they value their careers and prefer to keep their relationship low-key." As soon as I finished speaking, the door to the reception room opened. Lee Si-hung and Bilingue looked at me with disbelief. Lee Si-hung was surprised that I didn't take the opportunity to tell Wells that I was his wife. Bilingue was surprised. "How do you know English?" Lee Si-hung then realized that Wells and I could communicate without any problems. His gaze towards me held a few more points of confusion. "I'm Mrs. Lee's cousin. Is it strange that I speak English?" Bilingue. She bit her lip, her face pale with guilt. She must have remembered how she flirted with Lee Si-hung in English in front of me. Lee Si-hung glanced at me with complex eyes, then at Wells's injury and loudly reprimanded, How could you treat an important client of the company like this? You're fired, get out. I stood up and gave Bai Lingyue a look, preparing to leave. I had done what I needed to do, now it was up to her to make a fuss. Unexpectedly, Wells grabbed me and stood in front of me saying, "Lee, don't yell at her. It was my fault first, so she was right to hit me. This is the most special welcome banquet I've had in China. I want to thank you for making such a surprising arrangement. Can she continue to accompany me in the coming days?" As soon as these words were spoken, everyone inside and outside the reception room was stunned. Lee Si-hung frowned and looked at me, not asking for my opinion, but questioning how I could catch Wells's eye. Seeing that he remained silent, Bai Lingyue stepped forward and agreed. "Of course, you're welcome to China. Let Ding Ning accompany you to deal with your injuries first. Later, Mr. Lee and I will personally host a welcome banquet for you." Wells added, "Lee, didn't you say last time that your wife's cooking is excellent and that you wanted me to come to your house to try it? Then today would be perfect. It just so happens that I haven't visited old Mr. Lee since he fell ill. My father specifically instructed me to go to your house right after I landed to pay a proper visit to his old friend on his behalf." At this, the three of us were dumbfounded. It was difficult to refuse someone who was visiting old Mr. Lee on behalf of his wife, but the wife with the excellent cooking skills didn't feel like cooking today. Bai Lingyue still agreed, and Lee Si-hung had no intention of blaming her. He couldn't refuse anyway. He chatted with Wells for a few more sentences, offered his lounge for him to rest, and then went out to call home to explain the situation. "I want to leave," Bai Lingyue stopped me. "Your methods are truly brilliant. You've already found a new partner so quickly? Didn't you bring this person to me?" "I have a new partner, but where's the divorce certificate?" "Bai Lingyue, what's the rush? After today it will be." Lee Si-hung returned to the reception room. "Ding Ning, you go back first, finish what you need to do and then leave. Wells has always thought Lingyue is my wife. I will take him home with Lingyue." Bai Lingyue interjected. "Ding Ning said that I can host tonight's welcome banquet. She can go back later and avoid Wells, so there won't be a problem." Lee Si-hung looked at her with gentle eyes. "You can cook?" Bai Lingyue hugged her arms. "I know much more, you just haven't had the chance to discover it. Then I'll have to savor your cooking tonight. Don't worry, I won't disappoint you. You've suffered for so many years, it's time you tasted the finer things. I'll go order the ingredients and have them sent to your home." The two looked at each other and smiled, their eyes lingering. And they still had the nerve to tell me there was nothing going on? Do they think I'm blind? Bai Lingyue is more real than Lee Si-hung. At least she's shameless and dares to admit it. If there's nothing else, I'm leaving. Just as I reached the door, Lee Si-hung's phone rang. He glanced at it and called me back. "Ding Ning, Wells wants to take you to my house with him. You should understand what he means. I can't refuse him for you. I'll talk to my parents, so just pretend it's your first time at my house and find an opportunity to make things clear with him, understand?" Bai Lingyue. "This is simple, just tell him directly that you're married, isn't that enough?" Lee Si-hung shook his head. "No, Wells is a very serious person. If she says she's married, Wells will want to meet her husband." Bai Lingyue. "Then find someone to impersonate her husband." I suggested. "Why go through so much trouble? Just give me the divorce certificate and you won't have to worry about my affairs." Lee Si-hung became agitated again. Divorce, you won't stop talking about divorce. What do you want to do after the divorce? Go abroad with Wells?" I laughed. Lee Si-hung, who is being unreasonable here? I ignored him and left the reception room. Back in the sales department, Donghua gave me a thumbs up. "Ancestor, from today onwards, you are my real ancestor. That's amazing, you took down the big boss with just one move. You truly live up to being Mrs. Lee's cousin." The colleagues nearby also gathered around. "Yeah, we're all dying of curiosity. You didn't even wear makeup, how did you win his favor? He used to prefer glamorous beauties." I don't mean you're not beautiful, you're just a different kind of fresh and elegant beauty." I twitched the corner of my mouth. "Didn't Director Dong say it? I just made a move, beat him up, and he fell for me. If you meet someone you like in the future and your pursuit isn't working, you can try beating them up." The crowd. As it was nearing the end of the workday, I received a message from Lee Si-hung. I tossed my phone aside and continued working. So that's why Donghua always had me making tea and coffee, preventing me from finishing my morning work. It was at Lee Si-hung's instruction. In his eyes, I am this useless. He forgot that when I was in school I had excellent grades, always ranking at the top, and even skipped 2 grades to become his peer, though not in the same school. It was Madam Lee who, jealous that a servant's child like me had better grades than Lee Si-hung, sent people to report me for dating in school, causing all middle schools to blacklist me. Only then was I forced to attend vocational school. I've been hiding this matter, not wanting him to argue with Mrs. Lee, but he thinks I'm not thinking straight. Forget it, let him think whatever he wants, I don't need to prove anything to him. Hello. A large bouquet of roses appeared before me, followed by Wells' face, still not completely healed from swelling, peeking out from behind the flowers. What are you thinking about? You didn't even see me come over. Thinking about work. What are you doing? I told you I don't accept your pursuit. I made it clear after hitting him that day, but he didn't listen. Wells emphasized, this isn't a pursuit. It's an apology for my abruptness today. I bought roses because you and roses have a similar temperament, both radiant and captivating. I chuckled and pushed the bouquet away. You're the first person to say that. Lee Si-hung used to say I was gentle and sensible, but now he calls me bland and boring. I don't wear makeup and I don't like overly flashy clothes. No one has ever told me I'm stunningly beautiful. That just proves the people around you have no taste. Trust me, I've pursued many girls and my judgment is sound. Wells, I'm married. But you're not wearing a ring. I looked at my finger. There had been a diamond ring there. Later, I did a lot of housework and my fingers got thicker, making the ring uncomfortable. Lee Si-hung said he would buy me a new one. That year, it happened to be the year Bai Lingyue came to his side. After that, he forgot many things. My ring, my birthday, our wedding anniversary, even our grapevine. You're spacing out again. Is it because you often have insomnia that you tend to space out? My dad had this problem before. You need to relax, get some good rest, and adjust your state. Stop working. There will always be more work to do. He took my documents, placed them on the desk, took my hand and pulled me to my feet. Come with me to relax. Don't worry, I won't do anything against your will if you don't want me to. If you don't want me to pursue you, we can just be friends or brothers or sisters. Sisters. I laughed at him. Mr. Wells, don't waste your time on me. You won't get anything in return. Didn't you just smile at me? Wells grinned, a faint dimple appearing on his cheek, his light blue eyes crinkling at the corners. Ning, this is the greatest reward you could give me. I couldn't refuse him. Fine, on account of these flowers, I'll accompany you to the Lee family's place. I held the bouquet and he carried my bag. By the time we reached the underground parking lot, Lee Si-hung was already impatiently waiting. Seeing the bouquet of roses, his irritation grew, but he refrained from acting out due to Wells' presence. Bai Lingyue teased, Mr. Wells, you're quite the romantic. Did you specifically go out just now to buy flowers for Ding Ning? Wells opened the car door for me. This is a gift of apology. Lee Si-hung, if anyone needs to apologize, it should be Ding Ning to you. Regardless, she wasn't harmed and you took a beating. No, this can't be argued like that. She invited me to dinner and I disrespected her. I deserved to be hit. Legally, her actions are called self-defense and mine are called bringing it upon myself. He slurred out, bringing it upon myself, and Bai Lingyue and I burst out laughing. Lee Si-hung glared at me through the rearview mirror. What are you looking at? You brought up cheating first. Besides, I haven't even had the inclination to cheat. Wells can't stand awkward silences. He's been trying to liven things up and make me laugh all the way here. Switching between English and Chinese, he's really pulling out all the stops. It feels like it's been a long time since anyone took me this seriously. These past few years I've been constantly trying to please others, ignoring my own feelings. Regardless of whether Wells' intentions are pure or not, I'm truly grateful to him. When I arrived at the Lee family's place, I was even happier. Madam Lee, who always disliked me, greeted me with a smile and, out of consideration for Wells, tried to curry favor with me. Mr. Lee was surprised that my English was so good, and that I could communicate with Wells without any barriers. Madam Lee was not surprised, she knew best how outstanding I was. However, there was also something that made her happy, and that was that she had finally gotten her wish and made Bai Lingyue her daughter-in-law. Bai Lingyue cooked Western food and it was done in less than 50 minutes. The 3 Lee family members accustomed to Chinese food looked at each other. Lee Si-hung couldn't help but glance at the kitchen and asked her, Is there nothing else? No, isn't this rich enough? Bai Lingyue took off her apron, waiting for everyone to praise it. Mr. Li poked the steak with his knife and saw the blood, finding it a bit difficult to swallow. Lingyue, this steak isn't cooked. Dad, steak is best served medium rare. Try it, it's very tender and juicy. He says, Dad, more naturally than I do. And also shut Mr. Li up. I didn't eat steak. I can't stand raw meat, so I had some pumpkin soup. The 3 members of the Li family were miserable. They couldn't disappoint the new daughter-in-law, so they praised the food insincerely while eating. Wells was indifferent to Western food. It wasn't that he couldn't eat it, but he hadn't expected to be eating Western food in a country renowned for its cuisine. He felt a sense of disappointment and kept giving me wry smiles. After the meal, Wells chatted with Mr. Li. As a friend brought by Wells, I naturally accompanied him. Bai Lingyue and Madame Li were whispering together. Li Siheng sat at the dining table drinking red wine, and occasionally glanced at me as if questioning why I hadn't clarified things with Wells yet. I've said all I can say, what else do you want me to say? Tell Wells who my husband is. Mr. Li looked troubled while chatting with Wells and rubbed his stomach. I often took care of him and knew what his little gestures meant. But he was too proud to leave while entertaining guests, considering it impolite. One time a good friend of his came to visit. The 2 of them were chatting and I saw he was uncomfortable, so I suggested that the caregiver take him to the restroom. He cursed me out fiercely, saying I didn't know the rules and was unpresentable. This time he didn't mention it and I didn't say anything either. As it happened, Wells was a talkative person and he went on endlessly complaining about his father. I found it quite amusing listening from the side, and Mr. Li's expression grew increasingly displeased. At this point he couldn't bother with politeness anymore and took out his phone to find the caregiver. The phone was in his pants pocket in the gap at his side, and with a poof, a patch of ginger yellow seeped through his off-white casual trousers. At that moment Mr. Li's eyes widened and he wished he could die. Wells was indeed a good person. His first reaction wasn't to recoil in disgust but to step forward and offer help. Mr. Li pushed him away, his face reddening with anger and shame. Staring at me, the only one around to vent his frustration on, he roared, "Ding Ning, have you seen enough? Hurry up and call a caregiver for me." Madame Li and Li Siheng Bai Lingyue then noticed the situation here. "I have already called a caregiver for Mr. Li." The caregiver quickly helped him to the bathroom to relieve himself and then helped him clean up. But his condition worsened, not only diarrhea but also constant vomiting. Li Siheng called for the family doctor. Mrs. Li was extremely anxious outside Mr. Li's door. Everyone knew why this happened, but she couldn't blame Bai Lingyue, so she habitually took it out on me. "Ding Ning, it's all your fault. You knew he had a bad stomach, so why didn't you cook properly and insisted on going to the company? He even hired such a stupid cook. Whatever I told him to make, he couldn't do it well. Neither of us ate a good meal all day. Now he's sick. Tell me, what are your intentions?" Li Siheng rubbed his temples, extremely annoyed. "Ding Ning, you'd better hope my father is okay or I won't forgive you." Bai Lingyue originally wanted to show off her cooking skills and crush my only advantage. This way, Li Siheng will be disheartened with me and sign the divorce papers without any lingering attachment. Unexpectedly, she caused trouble but dared not admit it was her fault. She patted Mrs. Li's chest, continuing to feign virtue. "Mom, please don't be angry, be careful not to harm your health. In the past I would have silently endured this kind of anger. Now who owes you anything?" But before I could speak, Wells, who was supposed to be waiting on the first floor, suddenly ran over and pulled me behind him. "Madam Li, Mr. Li's condition is clearly due to eating raw meat. Why are you taking your anger out on Ning?" He couldn't understand what Madam Li was saying, so he could only judge by her tone. "She is my friend and I will not allow her to be wronged in any way. You had better give me a reasonable explanation." Madam Li stammered, unsure how to explain. Li Siheng stared at my wrist, which he was holding, and shot me a cold glare, blaming me for not breaking free and distancing myself. Bai Lingyue explained for Madam Li, because she was a servant in the Li family and she